Hey guys, I am making some braised collard greens, so I thought I'd show you how I do it. Um, what I have right here on the stove, I'll show you, is a pan with about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I diced up about 2 cloves of garlic and about a quarter of a large red onion, and I let them sweat. So when you sweat garlic and onion, you turn the heat down low. You hit it with a couple shakes of Himalayan pink salt, and you let that salt draw the moisture out. That's what it is to sweat them. So you do that because as you take out the moisture, it concentrates the flavor. So I let them sweat together for about maybe about 5 minutes or so. And whenever you chop up garlic, the smaller you chop it, the closer you have to watch it. So really keep an eye on it when you're doing that, because once it starts to turn brown, it gets very bitter. So all you want is for it to soften up and release some of those oils and get really fragrant and get into the food. You don't need to cook it. So 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 to 3 cloves of garlic, and a quarter of a large onion. Let that go for 5 to 7 minutes. Once that was ready, nice and translucent, I had a can of organic stewed tomatoes and I added that in there. Now this one in particular came out like tomato halves. I don't know if every type does that, but when it comes out like that, then I have to take my spatula and chop everything up. So that's how you got that look there. So right now I'm just letting the tomatoes cook down. Now once I added the tomatoes, I did turn the heat up. So when you sweat the onions and the garlic, you have it on a low heat. Once I added some more liquid, I could turn the heat up because I was no longer concerned about the garlic burning. So you just let the tomatoes and the onions and the garlic, let everything kind of cook and marry together for about 5 minutes again. And again, you're trying to cook some of that liquid out to concentrate that flavor. We know tomatoes are super healthy for us. They're full of vitamin C. You got some lycopene, and they're really good for men. And the thing is with the lycopene, it seems to be, it's stronger in cooked tomatoes when tomatoes have been heated than when they're eaten raw. So it's a good idea to get a combination of both. A little trivia for you. So the other thing I have here is some cayenne pepper. And you could also use crushed red pepper flakes. I just don't have any more. Or you could also use fresh pepper, jalapenos, serranos, whatever kind of heat you like. And a little Bragg's organic apple cider vinegar. Any organic apple cider vinegar or any raw apple cider vinegar with the mother still in it is good. But I love Bragg's. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and add this to it now. I like to develop all the flavors before I add the collard greens. So we're going to say that's about 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And if I had to guess, say maybe a ½ teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And I like a little spice in my stuff. If you don't, you can leave the pepper out or use less. So I'm going to stir all that in. Because again, this is all about everybody getting along and being one big happy family. So we want all these flavors to marry in really well together. I tend not to add too much salt at this point. A lot of times these canned foods have a good deal of salt in them. I will put a little bit more in there just because greens and tomatoes both require a good amount of salt, but be really careful. And this is just because this is something I do all the time, so I have a good idea of how much to add. These are my collard greens that I already washed and cut up, had them all prepped and ready to go so I could just get home from work and pop this on the stove. I'll do another video another time on how to do that, how to prep and cut collards. So, let's see. I wish you guys could smell this right now. Smells divine in this house. So what I'm going to do now it really doesn't take long when you want the flavors to marry, because again, they're still going to cook longer once I get the collards in, but this is what is going to flavor the collards. So you do want to have some kind of a base going. So I just take my collards out, put them in the pot, and spread them around. And if you notice, the type of pot I'm using is a very wide base but shallow kind of pot. And that's because you want to expose as much surface area as possible when you're cooking collards, because the ones on the bottom will cook faster than the ones on the top. Now, believe it or not, this looks like a lot, right? A whole gallon bag full. This is going to cook down to nothing. I could eat this in 2 sittings. I'll try not to, but really I could. I've done it. In fact, I've probably eaten this entire pot in a day. I'm not ashamed. So at this point, we'll hit it with a little more Himalayan pink salt. And it seems like a lot, but it's coming out really fine. And cover. And that's pretty much it. Once it's covered, it's going to nicely steam down. Once it gets down in there, I'll stir it around and mix those tomatoes and onions and garlic in and let it cook down some more. And really what happens is the greens are going to cook down in that mixture and just take on all those flavors. And it is going to be a hot, steamy bowl of yummy deliciousness that just happens to be good for me. Alright guys, I'll post pictures of the final product because I don't know how to pause this thing until it's done. And I'm actually going to let this cook until I go do my aftershock. This will cook. I'm going to turn it down and let it cook for the next 15 minutes. And that's generally about how long it takes. You know, when I can't breathe, when I'm out of breath in there, I'll run in here and stir it up real quick and then go back. Alright guys, hope this gives you something else to try. It goes good with this theme. They wanted something for protein week, so you can make protein. I just gave you the side. Alright, have a good night.